Hello YouTubes. It's been a long time since I touched my Locost 7 project. In fact, it's been a long time since I even looked in the general direction of my Locost 7R7 project. That's going to change today. We're finally going to get some work done. So let me show you what we're up to. I'm Dave Scott and this is Hot Rod News. Breaking news tonight. A man in a garage in Ancaster, Ontario has resumed work on his project car. Details are limited at this time. We will update you as soon as we know more. Okay folks, today's mission, I want to get that engine mounted to the frame using a couple of fairly cheap engine mounts. I'll show you that in a second. There's a couple of issues we need to deal with before we can start fabricating engine mount brackets, so I'll give you a closer look. If you're new to the channel, this is a Mazda 13B turbo rotary engine. Now obviously it wasn't designed to be put into a Locost 7, so we're going to have to do some fabrication. The lower mount bracket is kind of weird. You're kind of limited where you can bolt this mount to because of the rotary configuration. There's not really anything on the sides. It gets bolted to the bottom edge on that side and slightly different on the other side. It does get bolted at the side here, but it does mean that the whole mounting system is kind of offset. That side is definitely a little bit higher than that side. So it's not going to be a symmetrical mounting thing I'm doing. The engine is centered at the moment, but as you can see on that side, it's way closer to that side than that one is. The engine does have to rotate that way a tiny bit, and it will have to come up a little bit because I do not want this thing hanging below the frame. Eventually the underside of this entire frame will be plated all the way underneath, so nothing can go below those sections there. So here's my plan. I'm going to run another section of steel tube from that point there over to this point here, and then that will create a sort of triangle in this area here. I'm going to get a nice bit of steel plate, cover that over. I'm not going to remove this. I mean, it's not doing anything at the moment other than strengthening up the frame. I will grind that down, make it smooth, but there's no point in removing that. It's just, I know it would save weight, but it would also lose a bit of strength. And the same on this side, from that point there over to about this point here. I think I'm going to remove this. This was designed for my steering shaft or steering column to go through there, but that was based on a different setup, so I'm going to remove that for now, and that'll allow me to make my steel tube go from down here up to there. So I think I'll get fired on with that first. I will need to mark where this is to go because I'll be grinding that down, then I'll lose track, but if I mark it here, then I'll get a rough idea. Let me show you what I'm going to use for engine mounts. I got these on Euro car parts. They're actually from a Land Rover. They're a Land Rover engine mount, so if they can hold a Land Rover big diesel engine, they'll be absolutely fine for my little rotary engine. Steel plate there, threaded stud coming out either end, nice big rubbery thing in the middle. So I'll show you roughly where they're going to go. So this will sit in there, roughly that angle. So you can see I'm going to have to raise this up a fair bit for that to fit in there, and the bracket inside will be some sort of angular design because it will need to sit like that as opposed to sitting flat. Okay, what we do, let's mark the area on this side of the frame, get my engine hoist out, get the engine out and get to work. Well, I suppose I should check and make sure these mounts are going to work. That will sit in there. Oh yeah, that covers that quite nicely. Yep, I'm sure the other side will be fine. I'll double check, but I'm sure it'll be just lovely. So you see what I mean? I've got, what, about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches that it's going to raise it a little bit. Plus the bracket that I need to make for this to mount on. Right, back to the frame. It's a wee bit breezy today. Little wind chimes are going like the clappers. Good news is though, the sun's out, it's warming up, all that horrible white stuff is gone. So apologies for the wind noise. Back to work. Okay, so hopefully now you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm going to put a bar from that point down to here. Same on the other side, that point down to there. And then that will create a little triangle about there. That need to fill with some heavy steel. And then the bracket will go on there. Same on the other side. And then we can put our mounts on the engine, lower it back in, and figure out exactly what size and shape these mount brackets need to be. So let me clean all this up, because obviously I need to get the paint off in preparation for welding. I'm going to grind them right down as well, make them smooth. Back in a jiffy. We are all cleaned and prepped. I'll give you a closer look. So that's ground down, that, and I've made my crossover bars. I put a bit of a notch in the end, just to give it a little bit of extra support, and I'll be getting welded. I'll show you. That will sit in here. And the same with the other one. And they'll get welded all the way around there and underneath as well. And obviously I've cleaned up this bit because now I need to make a plate to sit from there to there, there to there. Nothing majorly fantastic, just a little triangular plate on both sides. So, welding time. Bars and plates are just tacked in for now. I don't want to go too far. I want to get the engine in and make sure they're in the right place. Otherwise I would need to cut them out and start again. So move this out of the way, get the engine back in, line it up, make sure we're on the right track. Engine and transmission still needs to go back an inch or two, but it's being restricted because of this contraption, so I can't get it back. But if it goes back a little bit, it'll be sitting more on the centre of that plate. Similar on the other side. So I do need to make sure that the engine is rotated straightish. I'm not sure how much that matters. Don't think it needs to be perfect, what with it being a rotary engine, you know. Goes in a circle. So next step then is I'll need to take that rear strap off, put it back a little bit, make sure it's in the right place, and then I can start fabricating up the little mounts for these mounts. The little brackets for these mounts. You know what I mean. You know what? This is garbage. Let me show you why. As you can see, this mount is going to line up roughly here. The plate goes away back here, and the mount doesn't even really need that plate. Now I thought about just messing about, making this plate go up to here and round to here and welding it all in, making it look smooth, but that's just a total waste of time. As it is, that's a waste of time, and those bars are a waste of time. All I actually have to do is extend this plate down here a little bit. If anything, I could just run a bar from there over to here if I want it a bit stronger, and then just build the bracket straight on there. I just had not calculated the angle difference that this would have created once this mount was on, so it's coming away further this way. That's just wasted metal and wasted weight, to be honest. So as I say, I'm not going to lie to you and say everything's rosy. I'm going to actually cut this off, cut that bar off, and start again just with a little bar extension here, a little plate extension, and then working my brackets. So sorry for wasting your time, but sometimes you got to make these mistakes in order to get things right. So I'll see you in a minute when I figure stuff out and maybe make this plate and weld it in, and then we can work in the little mounting brackets for the mount brackets. Right folks, plan B. Engine is removed again, and I've removed that bar and the little plates, cleaned it up again, because this time I've decided I'm actually going to just mount it straight to these plates. After realising that the mounts brought it away over, I've got plenty of meat here to attach a bracket. So let me throw the engine back in with the mounts on the engine, and we'll see where we have to fabricate a bracket for it. And we're back in. I really wish I had tried this the first time round with the mounts on. I was so obsessed with getting the engine so far back that I didn't realise that I'm building this whole car so I can put the engine wherever I want. So as much as closer to the centre is better, it doesn't have to be. It also gives me a bit more room for my clutch mechanism up there. So if I make the bracket here, roughly that height, maybe a little bit higher so that the stud doesn't bottom out, but a little bit higher. A sort of angular thing with a little platform to sit on. That's all we need to do. The other side's sitting a wee bit squint because you probably can't tell from this angle, but those mounts are not symmetrical. So I need to bring the whole engine over that way about an inch, which means this side, the mount is going to have to extend over a little bit to keep the engine as straight as possible. Okay, let me fabricate some stuff. Well then, a couple of non-symmetrical engine mount bracket things. You can see they're quite different, but the angles are the same, so hopefully they'll sit like that. And the engine, I'll show you how it's going to work. The short one will be going on this side, and it'll be sitting there, but you know, up there. So you can see that angle's good. As I say, once that slides up that way a bit, it should fill most of this platform, and there should be enough room for the stud to come through and for me to get a nut on, which I nearly forgot. You can't just have the stud coming through, you need another ½ inch for the nut to get on. So that'll be sitting, obviously I can't show you where it's going to be sitting because the engine's in the way, and the other side obviously is going to be a bit longer. Again, it'll be sitting close to that edge, but all the way in. So this is going to be coming up a fair bit. Now, I've done it quite high on purpose because it's easier to cut these down than it is to redo the whole thing. So let me get the engine up, get these bolted to that, so they'll be kind of hanging loose. Then I'll lower it down, and then we can work out where these are going to get welded on to this platform. That looks pretty good. Got some tweaking to do, but I'll give you a closer look. The angle's pretty good, and in fact I don't even think I'm going to chop any down. I think the height's fine. So obviously that needs to go over that way a shade, and I've got enough room there to get the nut on and off. Remember, I shouldn't ever have to take this off. If I'm removing the engine, I'll be taking the top one out, because this mount is elongated that way. Because of the angle, you couldn't bring it straight up if there was only one precise hole. It has to be elongated so that it can slot in. That's the way these diagonal engine mounts seem to work. So this one does have a fair bit of overhang, so I might add a bit of a gusset going from there down to there. And yeah, obviously that one needs to come this way a wee bit. And I have to make sure it's all centered. I need to center, I'm pretty sure that's the center of the engine. And I did do a tiny wee mark a while ago for the center of this bar, so it's pretty close. As I say, it's a wee bit higher than I would have liked, but I think it will do fine. So let me get the engine straightened up, take it out again, weld those brackets in, plonk it back in, and we should be done. Except for the transmission mount. Engine is mounted. About 60%. Let me show you. Now I've not fully welded these bracket mounts in yet, because I will be taking everything off the frame and welding everything completely, like the underside, for example. There's all sorts of areas that need finished, so I've made a point of leaving a lot of stuff, knowing that I have to go around the whole frame. But it's welded in there, still to do a gusset on the underside. And the other side's pretty similar. So let's check our spacing and gaps. I'm pretty happy with this centre line. I know that's not very technical, but that little mark is bang on the middle of that, well, middle of the frame. So that is straight. It looks level enough. Spacing wise, I cannot bring it up any higher because I need my clutch lever to do that. And it's just as well I did decide to bring the engine forward, because if that was further back, I wouldn't be able to lift the engine out. So there you go, blessing in disguise. Spacing down here, I've got enough space to get my starter motor out if I have to. And it's pretty tight here. I may have to, oh, we're moving. I may have to raise this up a little bit because it's bang against the underside of that. But as I say, I don't really want it any higher than that anyway. As far as everything else is concerned, quite happy. Spacing, centered, all good. Loads of space around this side. Right, what's next? Well, next should really be the transmission mount, but the way I'm building this, I'll do what I feel like doing, right? You're not the boss of me. Yeah, I should probably do that rear transmission mount. I do need a bush for it though. There's a weird sort of plate that I may use and I may make my own, but we'll deal with that when we get to it. That's enough of your time. Sorry about the waste of the first 10 minutes of the video, but hey, you got to learn by your mistakes, and I never learn. Right folks, thanks for watching. Good to get back on the 7R7 project. Really want to get this thing rolling within the next couple of months. So I do have some plans, but I'll show you on the next 7R7 episode. There we go. Take care, everyone. Bye.